Reality is like a film set. There are directors,
Action.
producers,
Are we on schedule?
and even actors.
Can somebody get me a coffee?
The trick is realizing that you are playing all of these roles. You are the executive producer of your reality. My name is Daniel,
My name is Lauren.
and we're here to break the fourth wall to discover what's behind the scenes. And what you hear just might have you saying, "That's so meta." Welcome everybody to That's So Meta, where we discuss the mystical, the magical, and the metaphysical. I'm your host, Daniel James.
I'm your host, Lauren Marie.
Yeah. And today we have a special summer solstice episode. And in this summer solstice episode, we're bringing on a guest friend of mine. And today our guest friend is none other than Daniel Scranton. Okay? Daniel Scranton is an experienced extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional channeler. Now, I had met Daniel Scranton in the year of 2015 when I was producing my sci-fi movie, Those Who Seek. And I was sort of new to channeling and training on channeling and teaching myself how to channel. And in that process of doing the sci-fi movie, I met a lot of the channelers, sort of in the industry or in the community of channeling. And that's how Daniel and I met. I think I was probably like some excited stranger on the internet, I think, when we connected. And I remember just sending a lot of friend requests and a lot of messages to channelers. And I think that that's how Daniel and I originally met. And then I was actually fortunate enough to meet Daniel in person at the 2015 channel panel in LA. I had flown out there to meet Rob Gauthier and Nora Harold and Brad Johnson to capture them for my sci-fi film. And so Daniel and I got to meet and spend some time together as well in that year. And so I am very excited to have Daniel as a special guest and to chat with him and just catch up as old buddies, as old friends. So everybody welcome my friend Daniel Scranton.
Hi.
Hey buddy, how's it going?
Good.
Well, listen, thank you for doing this and spending your solstice with us. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. Good timing.
Yeah, timing wise, I actually didn't know it was the solstice until this morning. I mean, generally speaking, they're coming up, people talk about them and they're excited about the energy. But like when I was on, social media this morning, I was like, that's a cool sync. Didn't know that was also happening today. Let's go. So we got that going on. So how are you?
I am fantastic. As you know, I live on Maui. And,
Yes.
I'm happily married and I have a daughter is about to turn 3 and we're all traveling to Australia on Saturday, which is why we originally were going to do this on Saturday, I think. And I asked
That's
you
right.
to come back. Yeah. So that's when our flight leaves. So we're all looking forward to that. And
That's exciting.
getting to see her side of the family.
Okay.
Because we haven't seen them in 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask what specifically do you have planned on doing, but it's a family trip, right?
Yeah, I'll work like half the time we're there and I'll have like half the time off, which is good. And we'll be staying, unfortunately it's winter over there. So they just started their winter. So it'll be a little cold, but we'll be on at a place called the Sunshine Coast. So we're excited to check that area out.
Oh, that's awesome. I hope you have a blast.
Yeah.
I want to travel soon. I want to do more traveling. And so that's sort of inspiring. I think, I want to take Lauren on like a little vacation this fall, I think is the plan. Yeah. We're still deciding where we want to go, but that's the goal because we're working a lot this summer. And so are you still channeling full time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. More than full time. Over 40 hours a week now I put in at this. So yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about that a little bit on the show today. But I remember, so I've actually had 2 channeling sessions with you in the past of my own. Maybe 3 actually over the years. I forget. But I remember that your schedule is booked out really far in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, if you look at the hours in the schedule on your calendar, it's like all day sometimes.
Well, it's 5 days a week. Thank you to my wife who convinced me to start taking days off.
Yes.
We got
So
together.
important.
So yeah, I have 2 days a week off. But yeah, some days, because I do the videos in the morning now too, that I make for like with the Arcturians. So 5 days a week, I'm channeling a new message with the Arcturians. So that whole thing usually starts around 8:45 a.m. And some days I work till 6:20. So
Yeah.
that's, over 8 hours.
Yeah, 10-hour days.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I do still channel occasionally. And I don't do it as much as I used to. But I do from time to time have clients who will book a session with me, and I'll do those privately with them. And sometimes I do some other like Zoom and Skype related projects, but I think I'm almost barely ever at my computer like you would be, doing like interviews and sessions with people all day. That seems like quite the endurance challenge, I think, for me, because I can do like maybe 2-3 hours a day and then I feel like kind of zapped.
Well, luckily, not every session is me channeling for other people. Sometimes I'm teaching channeling.
Sure.
Sometimes people just want to talk to me.
Yes.
And then I do classes too. And in my classes, I teach a lot myself and I channel a little bit at the end. And those are great. Those are a lot of fun. I do, I teach channeling in those classes, but then I also teach all kinds of other things too. I've come up with a lot of courses over the years.
Yes, you have. I've read and listened to countless of your courses and your content over the years, and I actually took one of your channeling classes.
Yeah.
In 2015, one of your live classes, which helped me get into vocal channeling, because I could channel sort of like privately to myself in like a meditative state for a long time, but vocal channeling and sort of learning how to get out of the way enough and allow your physical vessel to be that conduit, I learned partly from your class.
That's great. Yeah. So it's such a great joy to be able to teach people how to channel. I love it. It's my favorite thing to do.
With channeling, I shifted my services from less focused on just offering channeling as a service. And over the years, I've developed my own method. And it's really exciting to teach people this meditation technique that, in a sense, is like a gateway and entry-level meditation technique as well. And I designed it to be very entry-level for people who can't meditate. That's one of the biggest questions that I've gotten over the years from people is like, Daniel, I understand that you can channel. I know what channeling is, but like, I can't even meditate. How do I quiet my mind? So I developed this step-by-step system that it's designed to work together. So I walk people through it manually, where I walk them into altering their brainwave frequencies by anchoring their focus into their 3D senses. So what does that mean? It means if someone says, I don't know how to meditate because I can't silence my mind, so then what we do is we use our 3D senses, which can be distracting, as the mechanism in the process of getting into the altered state.
Mm-hmm.
So that I find to be very effective. And like you said, you love teaching. When I walk people through this particular exercise, the goal is to get them into the channeling state where they verbally speak while they're sort of like, it's almost like a self-hypnosis in a sense. And then I connect them to their spirit guides or relatives, or generally speaking, with the way that I work is extraterrestrials, their star family. Those are generally the beings that come through in my sessions. And to teach these people how to do that and witness their first connection to that realm. It's absolutely amazing. That it's beautiful to see them go through that for the first time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So
and
I know
the
what you
great
mean
thing about channeling too is like one of the, I think, bummer aspects of meditation for people is like they don't necessarily see any of the positive effects right away.
Right. That's
So
true.
it's kind of like, I'm just got to now stop everything I'm doing, sit, do nothing, don't think, and wait for this horrible thing to finally be over in 15 minutes, right? That's how most people are approaching it. Whereas with channeling, it's like, the way that I teach it is I want people to raise their vibration. So like, if you told someone, well, I just want you to go sit in a dark room, close your eyes, and not think about anything. That's not really exciting.
Right.
But if you tell someone, I want to teach you how to reach the heights of ecstasy through sitting and breathing, then they're a bit more interested, right? They're a bit more like, oh, well, I didn't realize that I could have a full body orgasm just by sitting and breathing, but you can. And, and that kind of way of raising your vibration will lead to all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But, the reason that it was so easy for me to meditate is because if I didn't meditate, I would be a complete zombie. Yeah. Like I could not function without meditation. So that was the payoff for me. It's like, oh, you get to like feel normal,
Right. I love that.
And then 10 years later, I'm suddenly able to channel, because I think in part due to the fact that I had been meditating for 10 years every day, because I had to.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think I ever asked you this, but with your channeling, was it something that you taught yourself how to do, or was it something that happened? And
but I didn't even know anyone who taught channeling. I tried. I had a friend who I met on an Abraham cruise who was like, oh, I know Wendy Kennedy, and like she and I are friends and everything. And I was like, oh, Wendy Kennedy. So then I found out about her, and I like reached out to her and was like, I'm starting to channel, and I could really use a teacher. And like I never approached it in like more of a professional way. It was more like, I'm friends with this guy Brandon, and like, can you help me? You know what I mean? So I think she never even responded. And later on, she and I became friends, which is funny. But yeah, and we've worked together, obviously, at both channel panels that but yeah, I just couldn't even like, I never searched for the book. There's like one book that everybody knows about channeling. It's called Opening to Channel by the Oren and Debin channelers, or, so like, I didn't even know about that. And I was just like, I was on my own, but well, the one cool thing I got to talk to Bashar. This is after I started channeling, but sure. I got to talk to him about it after I started. And then in a private session and in a group event that he did. But I got to talk to Abraham like right before it happened. Mm-hmm. For me. Like right as all these weird things were happening, I was going to so many Abraham workshops, and I got in the hot seat at least twice that year, where I was able to say like, hey, what's going on with this thing where, like in the middle of the night, all this energy starts surging through my body, and like, why do I go like deep into meditation and then start convulsing, Right. So they were able to kind of give me that green light to say, yeah, this is what's happening to you is good, and you should continue doing it, because you'll eventually release that resistance that's in your body that will help you to then be able to bring it through.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, with my journey into channeling, it was very intentional and very technical for me to understand things from a scientific perspective that I can break down and understand the mechanism of how it works. That was exciting to me, and so I partly with your program, and also with some of my old teachings that I actually learned from the very first Seth Speaks book. There's an exercise that you can walk through in that first book that puts you into like an altered state, like into a trance. So I used some elements from that with yours, and breathing techniques and visualization techniques, and broke it down to understanding that it's just brainwave frequencies that you're kind of shifting through. And if you learn how to do that deliberately, that was the access point for me. And since, the science behind how to do that from like a step-by-step approach was so exciting to me, that it was actually relatively easy, and I picked it up really quick.
Yeah, well, it's fun. It's great that you mentioned Seth, because I don't think many people in the new age today know about Seth, and
I agree.
The wonderful channeled books that are out there from Jane Roberts and her husband, Robert Butts. And like it is to me the best
That's right.
that's out there. I mean, I love Seth and I love Eckhart Tolle. And I think like if you had only those two, if those are only two, you read Seth and you watch videos of Eckhart Tolle, you'd be fine. You don't need
That's right.
anything.
I completely
Really
agree.
fundamentals.
Yeah.
We have Eckhart playing like in the background at the house a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so soothing to listen
Yeah.
to him talk.
Yeah, he's a sweet. I love it. And I'm glad that you're a fan of Seth as well, because I attribute a lot of my metaphysical sort of foundation to the Seth Speaks material, because when I went through like my quote unquote spiritual awakening in 2012, it was the Seth Speaks books that were like the first gateway into like understanding like a more complicated way to look at our reality, you know? So
Exactly. Yeah. He just talks about everything. Just
mhm,
covers everything pretty much. I mean, but she died in 84.
that's right.
And so, there was no talk of ascension in the Seth books, as far as I know. There's no talk of like how we're moving to a different dimension and all that stuff. So,
Right. So listen, that being said, I'm curious. I wanted to ask you, in regards to the beings that you channel, um, the entities that you work with, is there a theme? Is there, say, for example, an overall message? Let's just say for like the last 3 months, generally speaking, is there some sort of one specific or unified theme that's coming through in your daily channelings, whether that be, maybe in your private sessions, something that comes out a lot, or just in your public community messages, your daily messages? Is there a theme, or is there a common topic that's addressed coming from them? And I wondered if you could expand on that.
yeah, like you could say for Seth, it's you create your reality. Like if you wanted to just boil it down to the essence, you create your reality. And they're also, their big catchphrase is the present is the point of power, or the point of power is the present. I always get confused as to which one comes first with that. And with the Arcturian Council, who I've been channeling now for about 6 years, they keep saying acceptance, forgiveness, compassion, unconditional love. Those should be like your goals, and that the only way to get there is to go within. Like you can't be looking for things outside of you to help fix all of that. Like you're only going to get that if you go within and you focus on what you're feeling, what you're vibrating. Those are the most important things that we can be doing right now. So that would be, I think, the essence of what they're teaching that keeps coming through over and over in the messages. Yeah.
I see. And that's such a core fundamental of, I think, in reality mechanics, in being a deliberate creator, if you will, that simple principle. If we can remind ourselves that
Do those
concept.
things first. Yeah. If you're not processing what you need to process first, you can apply all the other stuff that you're learning in metaphysics, but there will always be this gunk that's screwing up everything else that you're doing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you could go to a workshop and they teach you about manifestation, and you'll be like, oh my God, I have all these tools. Now I'm going to go home and I'm going to apply them and I'm manifest this amazing life. But if in that course, they never teach you like, well, you don't manifest from lack. You don't manifest from anger. You don't manifest from fear. And if these are the reasons why you want to manifest, or loneliness, desperation makes a terrible cologne when you're looking for a soulmate. Like those sorts of things, like the things that you're angry about, and then you're like using that as your fuel to get you to manifest something, then you're still holding on to something it's like, there are so many metaphors, and we are very much like machines, like automobiles. And if you have a bunch of gunk clogging up your beautiful engine that you're using, it doesn't matter that you've got this beautiful engine if it's filled with gunk.
I see.
Yeah.
And I resonate with that. I agree. And if people could just be reminded of that simple fact, I think that's a good neutral starting point for them to make a lot of positive shifts in their now moments, in their day to day, in their weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think, we saw like this big consciousness expansion around the time The Secret came out.
That's right.
Everybody got excited about it, and there are so many converts out there of like, I'm gonna put my vision board up and think these thoughts and all this stuff. But the total lack of conversation about like, well, what might be, getting in the way of this for you if you're holding on to it, that if you skip over all of that and you just try to go to manifestation, then obviously the people are going to bump into all of that. They're going to see like, oh, I'm feeling this way, or I'm not getting what I want, and I'm feeling more of this thing. And then, but there's no tools within The Secret as to how to deal with like the lower vibrational stuff.
That's right.
Nobody really wants to deal with. So like if you package something in a way to people and say like, you don't have to deal with any of that as long as you're thinking good thoughts, it's
Right.
like, well, they'll get you to a certain point and it's helpful, but obviously you don't want to try to cover everything up with
That's right.
your nice positive mantras and bumper stickers and refrigerator magnets and things,
So, yeah, and I'm glad that you touched on that because Lauren and I have discussed multiple times on the show things like The Secret or basic law of attraction 101. It's like, okay, it makes sense. It's pretty easy to understand if you're new to it, but there are so many blind spots and what we call like, spiritual bypassing things that can be passive, not even deliberate, but people can be doing this subconsciously that, creates these blind spots in their manifestation exercises or their beliefs. And then, it gets back to if the Arcturians are making sort of like a themed sort of overall message the past 3 months, it's that neutral point in the now. I agree that even talking about the law of attraction and manifesting with the spiritual bypassing that I mentioned and the blind spots, going back to that point you made, it can start there and just sort of be like a neutral point that a lot of people don't realize with entry-level law of attraction. Like you said, that gunk, that I like to teach people that is hidden in the blind spots of the law of attraction exercises. That's what I'm trying to say, I think. So people may or may not know this about Dan Scranton, is that Dan Scranton used to actually write screenplays. Is that correct? Right? Used to be a writer? So you have a little bit of history in that sort of film
someday I'd like
aspect.
to return to that hobby, of course.
So I have been working on a movie for 20 years. It's a story that I channeled and I downloaded when I was 16 years old. And it's the story of my incarnation as a being from Sirius during the Orion Wars. Now, when I first sort of downloaded information about this is like way pre-spiritual awakening, right? This is way pre-understanding anything complicated about space and extraterrestrials and metaphysics and anything outside of like the third dimensional way of thinking, right? But I had fragments. I had little synapses, little memory fragments, little visions, little sensations of this incarnation of mine that I could never make sense of. So I tried to write music as this version of myself. I tried to write little scripts that I wanted to do, like little short films of this version of myself. And over the years I made attempts at making this film, but I told myself, someday, one way or another, I want to make what I feel will be like my best effort in independent filmmaking to tell this story of my incarnation during the Orion Wars. So the film is called Oma. And I remember, I think it was 2016 was the year that I booked a session with you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I really, really was drawn to you particularly in the channeling community and your particular gifts and your strengths was, connecting to what I call incarnational lineage and galactic lineage. something that I felt like you particularly were very talented with. So I booked a session with you, and I gave you what little fragments that I knew about this incarnation of mine, this aspect, this identity of me. And from there, the session was explosive for me. It was expansive. It was eye-opening. You and the beings that we were working with took the little tiny bit of information I had and expanded on it with so much depth and so much color in rich story content that it really inspired me and impacted me in a way that I'd needed for the story so much that I was like, I got to do this movie. I got to do this movie somehow. And we're talking like, okay, well, what people don't know, a lot of people don't know, is the Orion Wars are what inspired the Star Wars films, the Star Wars saga. So it's basically Star Wars is based on a true story. And that's what we're talking about here. So I was like, okay, well, how am I going to get the budget and the money to tell this epic that needs to kind of like look like a big sci-fi movie like that? I don't know. But so all I could do was write. That's all I could do at the time, was start to write the story and bring the characters to the screen and to the page. And so what I'm getting at here is, after we had that session, that was right around the time that I was learning how to channel myself and develop my own abilities. And so I started to do my own channelings, and I started to unlock what I call DNA codes, where I believe that you can actually have memories that are coded in your DNA, in your energy. So all of the incarnations that we have had, that we will have, that are happening right now in parallel to us, they all connect to each other. And it's all connected on an energy level. And so if we are storing memories or trauma in our DNA from this incarnational lineage, from our past lives and our future lives and our parallel lives, those memories can be unlocked, and they can be triggered by things. And then all of a sudden you'll have a vision or a feeling or an emotion of this experience from one of your other lifetimes. So that's what I've been dealing with for 20 years. And it's been sort of my life's work, my mission to, even if it's in a short film on a low budget, to tell this story through my strength, my artistic medium, which is filmmaking. And so I know I'm telling this in a very roundabout way, but what I'm getting at is that I was able to piece together much more of the puzzle of that lifetime of mine and my experiences from the point of that session with you. And I've expanded on it and learned more. And now I have scripts for, a short 6-episode series for this story of Oma. And the information that you and the beings that we worked with in the session gave me is intact. It's there. It worked itself into the script. And so I wanted to express gratitude and appreciation for you and, the Arcturians. And I know that at the time, other Pleiadian groups as well that you were channeling have really helped me discover more about myself and more about that incarnation and more about the wars and how those wars, believe it or not, still affect the Earth society and the Earth civilization even today.
Yeah.
And so I'm making this movie now. I'm making this web series, and the information that we got together in that session made it to the script. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you actually started filming?
Not yet. I would love to talk about it. We have we got finance, we got the green light, so we got the budget to do the 6-episode series.
Wow.
And I've been in pre-production for 3 months. Okay. So if you've seen the new Dune movie, or you've seen like Blade Runner, or you've seen the Star Wars stuff, what you're watching, what you're looking at is extremely expensive. It's extremely time consuming to plan and prepare for. And there's a lot involved to produce that type of sort of like dystopian futuristic content in terms of like film and cinema. It's very challenging. So I've been in pre-production for 3 months already to get all the puzzle pieces together so that we can start filming. But we are shooting the first of the 6 episodes, little by little, a scene here, a scene there throughout this summer. Yeah. And we're starting right away.
That's fantastic.
It's very exciting. So thank you for being a part of that, even in a distant way.
Well, it helps to hear that from you, because when I'm channeling that stuff, I don't know if it's true or not.
Right.
I know like this process will help this person, this little piece of knowledge or this perspective at times, those things that are coming through, I know that, well, that's helpful for that person. They can use that, but I don't know always like whether getting that information about a person's galactic history is accurate, or if it's going to serve them in any way to have it.
Well, you know what? This kind of gives me chills, but listen to this. The fragments of the memories that I had, that I believe and I know to be true, partnered with the information that you channeled in that session, how many years ago? 2016.
6 years.
Okay. Was the information, I still have the recording, by the way. Okay. I saved it. And it's very descriptive. So when you say that you're glad that it's been so useful and constructive, but that you didn't always know if it's true or not, well, get this, okay? One of the people that helped paid for the entire movie, okay? When he heard my story and the way that I described it and the characters and what went on, he had a massive emotional response to it. He called me on the phone because he told me that he has also information of his incarnation during the Orion Wars that interacted with my planet on Sirius, and his own unique journey and incarnation at that time is in alignment and corroborates with mine.
Wow.
And that's information that you channeled for me. And now we've got third-party people who are hearing the information and saying, I was there, I was part of that, we know each other. What do you think about that?
The emotional response is if people want to know, like, well, how do I know if this is true? If whether you're getting a reading, doing a reading, getting something for yourself, from a dream or from your own regression that you've done, if you feel the emotion, then that is your indication.
I agree. That's right.
It's legit. It's not just a story made up to make, and a lot of times you hear those stories that are made up, that people, a lot of us really, we want to feel special. We want to feel like we're doing something really important. And some of the stories that you hear in the New Age are very like grandiose, delusions of grandeur type thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the one true soulmate of Yeshua, or I am Archangel Michael. I'm not just from that collective. I am here. Like that sort of thing you hear about, and it's obvious that someone just wants to feel special and wants to feel good. But when it's not that, when it's like, I'm just like everybody else, and I've had like good lifetimes and bad lifetimes, and I've played on both sides of the spectrum, that's a problem I had with Cloud Atlas, because the Wachowskis, for me, always get so close.
That's right.
To the mark. And it's like, Hugh Grant wouldn't have been bad in every lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, he would have had a good lifetime in there where he was like a saint of some kind, that was it. But it was, other than that, it was a pretty cool movie.
Well, actually, I'm glad you mentioned the Wachowskis and Cloud Atlas, because Lauren and I just watched that recently.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I was like, why is Hugh Grant always evil?
Well, it makes for better film.
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
What I mean, like, it's going to be more understandable for an audience. But the great thing about Star Wars, which I'm sure you and I have talked about before, is that Anakin is not all evil, and like that Luke realizes that and senses it and feels it in him and is able to draw it out of him at the end and save him and save the whole galaxy. And it's just, it's just so beautiful to see, like, for that yin yang symbol to be really represented in all of that, which, you know, most movies do not get that complex. Although you're seeing more and more of like I don't know if you watch this show, The Flash, which is really good, and tons of sci-fi. There's alternate universes. There's all kinds of stuff in The Flash you might not expect, but they started getting to the point where now they're realizing like, oh, we need to like rehabilitate these people who are doing bad things, not just lock them up in this really inhumane cell that we created, you know, that inhibits their powers.
And I love that you're so into like to cinema and TV shows, and you're big, like you're into that, because I know that you were a creator as well. And Lauren and I, you know, full disclosure, we watch a lot of TV shows and a lot of movies.
Yeah, I used to spend hours at night just in the video store.
Yeah.
Going
Same.
through all the VHS, like trying to find 2 movies that I would bring home and then watch.
Same. Now, do you think, I hate to put you on the spot, do you think you might ever write again for screenplays? You might
I really
ever
want to. I want to write a movie about a superhero who fights crime with love. And I want to write a script about Atlantis.
Awesome.
The real Atlantis, not just like I watch Aquaman now and I'm like, oh man.
You're
First
like,
of all,
that's not-
there's too much CGI. Like at a certain point, it's just ridiculous what you're looking at on the screen, and it loses some. I mean, there's a happy medium. Like now I look at the 1989 Batman and I'm like, oh yeah, it really, you know, look, it doesn't really hold up over time. But even though there's some really cool moments and really cool things they did in that. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have these movies where there's way too much going on and so much of it is fake, you know, and you just know it's computer generated, that like it's hard to, it's not grounded. It's not like, you know, I know that movies have to be big, and like those Justice League movies, like when it just gets so at the end, it just gets so outlandish with the craziness that's happening on the screen, and it just loses all of its heart, you know.
And I think that that's where the studios come in, you know, that's where like some of the suppression comes in. Like you mentioned the Wachowskis. There was another movie they did, Jupiter Ascending.
I haven't seen.
I would watch it.
Yeah.
Just watch it, because there's like a lot of disclosure. There's a lot of truth hidden in that film of a lot of real things that happen behind the scenes with geopolitics and extraterrestrial races and, you know, the secret societies and stuff. It's all there. But then it's like you said, it's almost like they're just off a little bit. And I think that's where like the studio comes in. That's where the executives come in, and some of it's skewed, some of it's distorted. And then there's a bunch of stuff added that we don't need for the sake of selling tickets and making money. And so there's always going to be that aspect to film and cinema, you know, I think.
And there's also the truth that it's really hard to make a good movie. Like even if you have everything go right, you know what I mean? It's just hard. I mean,
So
look
hard.
how many filmmakers have like one great movie and then the rest are just not that good, you know?
Yeah, they usually regress.
They can never follow that one.
Capturing the charm of some of their earlier work, you know, I think oftentimes too, it's like if you get these directors, these filmmakers who come out of the gates out of nowhere with like an amazing film that just blows you away. And then the more money they get and the further they
have
go.
to produce it in 6 months, as opposed to like having their whole life to, like you had that idea at 16 come to you, or that download. And I had an idea come to me when I used to be a paper boy, when I was, you know, like 11 or something, and I was riding around on my bike and I had a movie idea. And I later kind of wrote a script that was, you know, somewhat based on that.
Yeah.
If Lauren and I can ever help you with your film endeavors, okay, you have friends.
Yeah.
And also with Oma, it's going to be, I'm going to be chipping away at it. It's going to take all summer to shoot. It's probably going to run into the fall. But the puzzle pieces are there, and there's a lot of spiritual and emotional and cosmic support there. Whenever this thing comes out, whenever it's public and it's online, I just want you to know that you had a part in it. And I thank you for that.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you
So
turned
listen.
around to the OA
Right.
one of the most, amazing things ever to be made.
Still.
And only ran for 2 seasons.
Still to this day, it's our favorite show.
Yeah, they're saying that they might find a way.
I hope.
In August of last year, I think Brit, is that her name?
Britt Marling, yeah.
Yeah, I think she posted on Instagram that they're going to find a way to
Yeah.
story.
That'd be amazing.
I love Britt so much, and I love Zal, her partner, they make films together. But no, the OA was, in my opinion, just groundbreaking and awe-inspiring. And it's like, I mean, they're channeling in the show. The movements.
Yeah, there's channeling in it with the octopus.
And it's like, I wonder sometimes when they talk about like jumping timelines and going into alternate versions of reality, I wonder if maybe they were getting too close to the truth. There was maybe some energy programmed into that creation of the show that like the producers and the big, the controllers are probably like getting a little too close to waking people up. Pull the plug. I don't know. It seems kind of weird. I mean, the show was written to be 5 seasons.
Yeah, no, yeah, and Netflix originally agreed, I guess, to do all 5 seasons. So
That's right.
Yeah.
So #free the OA. We bought the hoodies. We did an episode about the OA where we had the wolf hoodie she wears in season 1. Like, trust me, we're diehard. We're geeks about that show. But yeah. Well, listen, as we come to a close here, Dan Scran, my friend, we would like to ask, what do you have going on? Do you have any projects? Do you have any new books? Do you have any other collaborations
I
you're
was
excited
kind of
about?
excited to tell. Well, I'm excited about so many things. First of all, I had this guy come to me and say, I want you to channel bedtime stories that would be appropriate for kids. And I'm just going to hire you to do that. And you just have to put them out there for free on YouTube. And the guy hired me to do 20 of them. So there are 20 bedtime stories on my YouTube channel right now that one of which was like one of the last ones I did, inspired an artist client of mine so much. He loved it so much. He's like, I want to make this into a children's book. And I asked the guy for permission who hired me to do it, because the original idea was to just give it away. And he said, yes, do whatever you want now with it. So we're in the process, and she's going about it very methodically and storyboarding every scene and everything. And she's this amazing artist who does this like crazy galactic type stuff with like hybrid creatures and all. Like, I'm so excited to see how it looks when she's done with the illustration of it. So that will probably be one in a series of children's books that we're going to come out with. And of course I can read them to my own daughter now, which is cool. And then in August, it starts in August, I think ends in September, maybe. Me, Daryl, our friend Daryl Anka,
Yeah.
the Royal Holt of Prism of Lyra fame, Matt Kahn.
No, I love Matt Kahn.
Like, this is I feel like I got Daryl and Lisa on board for this,
Okay.
because Lisa knows me. Daryl may have heard of me because we worked together. Like, we were at the same channel panel, and he may have seen my name, and I've been to his house 3 times, but I don't know that he's that aware of who I am. But because I've been to his house for private readings, not to socialize. But anyway. But so Lisa is the one who got Daryl, and I got Lisa, and Lisa knows me enough to say yes. And it's like, and then they got Matt Kahn, and it's hosted by Mike Dooley from The Secret.
That's so cool.
So we're going to do this thing where we're all going to be talking about channeling about ascension.
Ah, that is huge. Congratulations, my friend. What an awesome. Where is that live? Where is it online? Where
Live? It's going to be, I think, why, given the date range that he gave me. Mike Dooley's the grand, marshal behind all of it, and he, he gave me a date range that was like, oh, it must be once a week, because there's 6 of them. I didn't mention everybody because I don't remember the other 2.
But this is online?
It'll be live online. Yeah, they'll all be online.
Okay.
It'll be right after I get back from Australia. I'll be doing mine. But yeah, I said to my wife, we were driving home from our walk on Thompson Road, which is this beautiful place where Oprah has like all this land. And I said to her, I said, honey, I want to say this out loud because I've said it before in my life to people, and then something happens after I say it. I said, I'm surprised that no one of like note, like a person who has like a huge following, has ever discovered my work and like approached me about, having discovered my work. And then like within, I don't know, 48 hours, Mike Dooley emails me. And Mike Dooley, for anyone who doesn't know, he has 1 million subscribers on his email list, 1 million. So he does these things called totally unique thoughts, where he sends them out every day. You get a totally unique thought from the universe, is how he couches it. So obviously people love these emails and they love him, and he's this great guy that was in the secret. And so that's how all of it got started, with me and Mike meeting and then talking about how we could work together, and then me suggesting Lisa and Daryl. And
Well, congratulations. I mean, that's beautiful. That's awesome. I hope it's a total blast.
yeah, it will be. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations. And I'll be interested to see the children's stories.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And check out the book. But another thing, people don't know this. I worked on one of your books years ago. Remember that?
Yes, the this series right here, which I just so happen to have handily.
Yes. Yes.
With yours?
Yeah. Is
Yeah, your
my name at the
name's
bottom?
right there at the bottom. That's the first one. That is the bestseller of this. For some reason, everybody wants the first volume. Maybe it's you. But there's 4 volumes out right now, and I mean, I've got enough material to do a 5th. I'm just spacing them out a little bit, and some of the material that I channel is like not so timeless. It's more like time sensitive.
That's right.
It's happening now. So even though I'm channeling probably 260 messages a year approximately, not all of them would be appropriate to put in a book that someone's going to pick up in a year or 2 or 5,
That's right.
about the June solstice energies from 2022. So that's,
when I was reading, I had to read. Okay. I had to read every channeled message for the whole year. And then
the timeless ones. Yeah.
My task was to categorize them, organize them, and then choose the ones that are relevant to the book's topic, to the title. And so there were some that I had to exclude just because they were more like time contingent or time specific.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Well, congratulations on everything that you're doing and on the big event. I'm very excited for you, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you for working on OMA with us.
Yep.
Thank you for being my friend.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yep. I'm surprised it took us this long to do it, but we'll do it again, I'm sure.
I would love to. You're always welcome here, and I'm sure that we'll have more to catch up on in another 4 years. But listen, everybody can find Daniel Scranton. He has Instagram, he has Facebook, he has an official website. He's an outstanding channeler. If you're looking for a session, I would highly recommend him. His work has truly helped me, even discovering the Zaw of Orion. But that's that's a topic for another time. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you very much, my friend, and thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And that's it. So we'd like to close it out. We'll tell you this real quick. This cup says Steel Town, okay? Do you have a drink you'd like to cheers us? These cups were a gift. When we first started the show, we were recording it in a studio in Pittsburgh where they catered to independent filmmakers. They gave us free space to use, free lights, free equipment. And so we were originally doing that So Meta in their studio, and they gave us these Steel Town filmmaker cups. And so as a tradition, we cheers at the end. So that's So Meta.
That's so meta.
Cheers.
Ching.